Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. And Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. And Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. And Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Okay. So on this 7th of February, the glorious appearance day of Lord Nityananda in SanDiego, we're going to, by the mercy of my spiritual master and all the acharyas, say a few words about Lord Nityananda. And I'm going to begin with this wonderful verse that someone sent to me today. And this is a verse from the Adi Lila, chapter 8, verse 43 of the Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita. I highly recommend the Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita for anyone who's wanting to really dive deep into the understanding of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda and all of their associates, and the wonderful gift that they've all given us in the form of this Hare Krishna movement, the holy name, and Srila Prabhupada, who directly comes in line from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and who, at great effort, presented to us the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in translation and commentary. So this verse is an appeal by Krishnadas Kaviraj, who in this chapter 8 of the Adi Lila, in this portion, he's glorifying Vrindavan Das Thakur and his Chaitanya Bhagavat. There are two main biographies of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The most famous, and the one that we've been given by Srila Prabhupada, is the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is said to be the pinnacle of all Vaishnava writing, Gaudiya Vaishnava writings. It gives not only the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, but his teachings in the greatest detail and the greatest thoroughness. But the Chaitanya Bhagavat was written before the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it has the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but more in detail of the pastimes, especially the early pastimes. And it has a great deal of detail about the pastimes of Lord Nityananda, who is the spiritual master of Vrindavan Das Thakur. So in this particular verse, after glorifying the Chaitanya Bhagavat and all of its descriptions, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, Ata eva bhaja loka Chaitanya Nityananda Kandi be sangsara dukkha pabe premananda. To all the Bengalis, speakers out there, I apologize for my mispronunciation. And he says, I fervently appeal to everyone to adopt the method of devotional service given by Lord Chaitanya and Sri Nityananda, and thus be freed from the miseries of material existence and ultimately achieve the loving service of the Lord. This is practically the mission statement of the Hare Krishna movement, of the whole Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So I thought I would share that with you. And there's a purport here. Let's see. I wanted to read this. Okay. Well, let me read this one. Chapter 7, by the way, this publication of this Chaitanya Charitamrita has a special history. Every one of Srila Prabhupada's books was produced in a unique way. There's a story behind every one of them. The Chaitanya Charitamrita, I was there. I had just joined. It was 73 in Brooklyn, where the press was, ISKCON Press. It was before the BBT. It was called ISKCON Press. And I was a little proofreader. And suddenly we were proofreading this one chapter of the Adi Lila, which came out first before any other publication of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it was this Adi Lila chapter 7. Adi Lila chapter 7 deals with the Panchatattva, but it also deals with Lord Chaitanya's conversion of Prakashananda Saraswati and thousands of impersonalists in Benares, simultaneous to his teaching Sanatana Goswami. And it contains extensive, exhaustive arguments against the Mayavad philosophy. I think that's why Prabhupada wanted it published first. And that came out first. It was known as, you remember, Kripami, the Lord in 5 features. Lord Chaitanya 5 features. Pancha means 5. It's what we sing all the time. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadada, Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. And this is the first part of this chapter deals with the Pancha Tattva, and then it goes on to this other part about the Mayavadis. Okay, here. Yes. So, I'll just share with this one verse. It's very beautiful. Adi Lila chapter 7, verse 23. Patra patra vicha nahi stana stan je janya pahaptanya kare premadan. Premadan means the gift of prema, the charity of prema. This was what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was famous for giving that. That's why he's known as Mahavadanyaya. Notice that word Vadanya is in there. The most munificent avatar. All of us can say together, Namo Mahavadanyaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate, Krishnaya, Krishna Chaitanya, Namne Gaura Tvijay Namaha. Rupa Goswami composed this verse when he first saw Lord Chaitanya, and I think it was Ramkeli, he and his brother, his elder brother Sanatan, they offered obeisance. He said, oh, Namo Mahavadanyaya, I offer my obeisance to the most munificent, most charitable incarnation of Lord Krishna, who's giving the most valuable thing in existence, not even in this world or out of this world. Krishna Prema Pradayate. He's giving the treasure of Krishna Prema, Prema Dan. Prema Dan is the treasure of Prema. Krishna Prema Padayate, Krishnaya Krishna. He is Krishna himself. I offer it to Krishna, but he has the name of Krishna Chaitanya. Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tvijay Namaha. He has this golden effulgence. So that's the very famous. We used to sing that on Sankirtan. Those you remember, right? Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tvijay Namaha. Imagine about 30 devotees on 5th Avenue, Manhattan, singing to all they didn't know what was it. It's very ecstatic. So in this verse he says, in distributing love of God, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, the Panchatattva, did not consider who was a fit candidate and who was not, nor where such distribution should or should not take place. They made no conditions. Wherever they got the opportunity, the members of the Panchatattva distributed love of Godhead. Now, Srila Prabhupada is fighting, the battle of establishing this movement and adjusting things to preach in the West. I mean, this is not India, People are coming into the storefront. They've just come down from LSD. The boys and the girls are together and married and everything. He's trying to figure out how to preach. So this is he's in the middle of that, and he's writing this. Purport: there were some rascals who dared to speak against the mission of Lord Chaitanya by criticizing the Krishna consciousness movement for accepting Europeans and Americans as Brahmins and offering them sannyas. But here is an authoritative statement that in distributing love of Godhead, one should not consider whether the recipients are Europeans, Americans, Hindus, Muslims, etc. The Krishna consciousness movement should be spread wherever possible, and one should accept those who thus become Vaishnavas as being greater than Brahmins, Hindus, or Indians. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desired that his name be spread in each and every town and village on the surface of the globe. Therefore, when the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is spread all over the world, should those who embrace it not be accepted as Vaishnavas, Brahmins, and Sannyasis? These foolish arguments are sometimes raised by envious rascals, but Krishna-conscious devotees do not care about them. We strictly follow the principles set down by the Panchatattva. And now I'm going to share with you again. I think last year we shared the same pastime, but this is ever fresh. Jagai and Madai. This is the quintessential example of Lord Nityananda being the mercy incarnation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya is an ocean of mercy, and a lot of that mercy was extended and exemplified by Lord Nityananda Prabhu. So to get a detailed description of this Jagai Mare pastime, we turn to the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Now, I'm not going to read all of these details here, but I just reread it, so I'll share some of the ones that are most prominent. So Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya and Haridas Thakur are all there in Navadvip, and Lord Chaitanya has manifested the Sankirtan movement. Those of you who are familiar with the pastimes, for years he was in the role of a Nimai Pandit. He was a Brahmin, he had a school, and he would meet the Vaishnavas on the street, and he would debate with them. He would get into arguments. They would sometimes avoid him because they didn't want to get into all this wrangling. He defeated them all the time. So one time, I think it was Srivas Thakur, you can correct me if I'm wrong, said, Nimai, if you would just be a Vaishnav, you could spread, you would be the most powerful and influential Vaishnav of all, Pakal Vaishnav. So I think Lord Chaitanya said, by your blessings, may it be so. He smiled. So he went to Gaya. He got initiated right by Ishwara Puri. He came back and he revealed his actual nature, which was that he is the incarnation of compassion, and he's going to preach the Krishna consciousness, chanting Hare Krishna. There's all many stories how the devotees were ecstatic, and the smarta Brahmins, those who were stuck up on the Smriti regulations and really not Pakal Vaishnavas, they criticized. They said, what is all this loud chanting? Where does it say in the Shastra that one should chant? One should chant silently. This is not proper. So they complained to the Qazi. Qazi like the sheriff, a Muslim ruler. And they started suppressing the kirtan. And famously they broke one or more Madanga drums, and the devotees were all, they weren't happy and free in their chanting anymore, so they went to Lord Chaitanya. And he said, we'll see what this Qazi does. We'll have a massive kirtan tonight. He's only 20 years old or so, or less. And he called everybody to get a torch, and tonight we'll have kirtan throughout the street. We'll see what the Qazi can do with his show. So everyone came out, and Lord Chaitanya had been meeting in Srivas Thakur's place and chanting and dancing. And so, they had these ecstatic kirtans, and not everyone could get in. It was exclusive. And there were some complaints when Brahman couldn't get in and cursed Lord Chaitanya that you're not going to have any material wealth in this lifetime, and he accepted the curse. Thank you for the blessing, And so there was this massive kirtan, and the soldiers of the Qazi couldn't do anything. They were afraid. People there were thousands and thousands, and they were just ecstatic. They weren't even seeing anything. So Lord Chaitanya, he went to the house, and he had to restrain his people from destroying the house entirely. And then they had a discussion, which is nicely described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And the Qazi revealed, I had a dream. And in that dream, there was this big lion came onto my chest. And he warned me not to break the Mridanga drums anymore and not to suppress the kirtan. And then he scratched me on the chest, and he opened his kurta, and there were the scratches. It was a dream, but it wasn't a dream. It was in the Shringaday. So anyway, he became a staunch follower of Lord Chaitanya, and he declared never should the Sankirtan be suppressed in Navadvip. I remember when I first went there, that we were told that when we went out on Harinam, and said this is an order, and that it'll never be suppressed. So that was the beginning. And then when that started happening, then Nityananda came down. He'd been on pilgrimage, and he joined Lord Chaitanya in Navadvip. So now, one day, Lord Chaitanya called Nityananda and Haridas Thakur were also there. They were together. And he ordered them to go and preach to everyone in Navadvip. And he told them what to say, this famous phrase, Bolo Krishna, Bodo Krishna, Koro Krishna Shika. This is the whole summary of the preaching, which means go to every house and beg in this way, chant the names of Krishna, worship Krishna, and follow Krishna's instructions. I put it into a little poem. We can all learn this. Chant Shri Krishna's name and worship him with all your heart. Follow his instructions, and to others them impart. This is kind of the summary of the Krishna consciousness movement. Chant Shri Krishna's name, learn Krishna's instructions, Bhagavad Gita, follow them, and give them to others. So that's what they were told to do, and they started doing it. So they started going around. And by the way, this Chaitanya Bhagavat I'm reading, this is published in multi-volumes with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's commentary translation. We thank Bhumi Pati Prabhu for this gift, and this is available. You write to me, I'll send you a PDF. So, and then he says, just do that. And so they started doing that. And they would go, and some people, many of the pious, Vaishnavas, they would welcome them in, and they would become enlivened in the devotional service, and they were preaching in this way. Some wouldn't be, the smarter Brahmins, again, they would reject them. So then one day they went out, and they saw these two raucous rogues who were like very loud. They were drunken, and they were making a big fuss in the middle of the road. People were giving them a wide berth. And Nityananda said, "Who are those two?" So those were born in Brahmin families. They're born Brahmins, but they've fallen far away from the standard. And they've become drunkards and cheaters and thieves, and they burn people's houses down. And, don't go near them. You'll just be sorry. So Nityananda was thinking, these are the ideal candidates for Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Everybody in Kali Yuga is like that. So against Haridasa's advice, he asked him, he said, Bolo Krishna, Bodho Krishna, Kodo Krishna. And they became enraged, and they started berating them, and then they started running at them. And so Nityananda and Haridas started running away. So there's this chase that went on. And so they're running, and Jagai Mata are insulting them and say, stop, wait. And Haridas is having an argument with Nityananda. He said, why? I warned you about this. Why did you do this, And now I'm going to, I survived the beating of the Muslims, but now I'm going to perish in this thing. There's all this conversation. It's quite humorous, actually. So what happened was that, they were drunk, and how fast can you run? Eventually they fell down, and they started fighting with each other, Jagai Madai, and so they escaped. That was a close one. So they went back, and they told Lord Chaitanya what happened. And, he said, well, that's what happens when you preach, So sometime later, they went again out there, and they saw them again. So then again, Nityananda is thinking, let's see what I can do. And Bolo Krishna, Bodho Krishna, Kodo Krishna Shik. And so this time, Madai picked up a piece of a pot and threw it at Nityananda. And created a big gash in his head. The blood is flowing, and it's soaking his body, his whole body. And so he said, no mind, no problem. Please chant Hare Krishna. So Madai was enraged, and he picks up another piece of pot. He's ready to throw it again, and Jagai came to his senses and stopped his arm. So what are you, crazy? He's a saintly person. Stop this, And I think at that time, if I recall, Jagai was infused with love of God, and he was completely purified just by that act. And he fell down, and he was crying, and and hair standing on him. Meanwhile, the word had gotten back to Lord Chaitanya that Nitai had been injured in this confrontation. So he became furious, and he called for his chakra. He came running, and he manifested 4 arms, and he's got the chakra going there, and Jagai Mata could see it, So Jagai, Mata is about to be annihilated, along with Jagai, and Nityananda says, no, this Jagai, he saved me. He saved me, he stopped me. So Lord Chaitanya said, I bless him with pure love of God. I think that's when he became purified at that point. And he started crying, and he was transformed. And Madhai also thought, I can get this blessing, So he was surrendered. I mean, he was, terrified. Here's the Lord with his chakra, invincible chakra. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, you have to get forgiven by Lord Nityananda, Nityananda. So Nityananda, lifted him up and gave him a big hug and forgave him everything. Said, now you're pure. Now, so then Madhai was now in ecstasy. Everything had been transformed. And Lord Chaitanya said to both of them, now everything is forgiven. And he warned all the other devotees, don't regard them as they were in their previous life. They've been transformed. They're now as good as my intimate associates. And they showed by their behavior. And it was like a tremendous example for everyone in the town at that time. they saw the potency of Lord Chaitanya's mercy and Lord Nityananda's mercy to purify anyone and everyone of their sins and their sinful reactions, and to lift them up to the platform of purity and pure love of God. And so this example is given, and it's has inspired every true follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu since, coming down all to the present day. Because why did it take so long, really? Lord Chaitanya made this prediction. Priti vityachayat another adigram sarvata pracharhove moranam. This is recorded in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. That in every town and village of the world, of the earth, Priti Viti means on the surface of the earth. Am I correct? It's the whole world. So, but those who came after said, oh, that must mean India. There's no question of all of these outcasts and these fallen people outside of India doing, so we'll try to do it in India. But that wasn't what he said. He said all over the world. And so when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he instructed Srila Prabhupada at their very first meeting, you know, he was a devout follower of Gandhi at that time, Prabhupada was, and his friend. But they went to see the saintly, you know, I mean, Prabhupada had been, you know, he was a devotee, he's the eternal associate of the Lord. But he was surprised that Bhaktisiddhanta gave him this instruction. You're intelligent young men, you know, with an education, why don't you preach this message all over the world in English? Especially he gave it to Prabhupada. So it took a while. You know, even Prabhupada, he spent, that biography says, a lifetime in preparation. In the first volume of the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, exhaustive biography of Prabhupada. And he spent all years and years. You know, basically he was instructed to preach in English. So he started the Back to Godhead magazine in English. It wasn't like it is today, you know, 64 pages, full color. It was like 4 pages of newsprint, you know, in English. But it had that potency. Prabhupada wrote most of the articles, and he would go out. He had no money, you know, as he gradually, and of course he had his household life, and after some time that ended, and he was on his own. And he had to decide sometimes whether it's breakfast or going out and printing the BTG. And he would always decide on the BTG and go out on the streets of Delhi in the heat, in summer heat, you can imagine. So this struggled on and on. And he had some hopeful things, the League of Devotees. He had a place in Jhansi that was taken away. Gradually, you know, everything was, you know, it was, when he finally got those books printed, the 3 volumes of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, he was tremendously enlivened to take that abroad and try to preach in the West. So it's a wonderful story. And really, the potency and the inspiration of Lord Nityananda, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda are essential to understanding why we're sitting here today. Because Prabhupada reached out to the Jagais and Madhis of this world. You know the story, he comes to America, he comes to New York. As he said, I didn't know where to go, left or right. You know, can you imagine? Just try to, you know, imagine that scene. He has no money. He knows one person in the whole country. You know, he has this place in Butler, Pennsylvania, where he has his contact. He can go there. But basically, he's in a foreign land, foreign language, no money. He's elderly. His health isn't strong. Clearly, at every moment, he was depending on the mercy of the Lord and inspired by Lord Chaitanya's prediction, his own spiritual master's instruction, and all the acharyas coming before them. And he was empowered. He prayed, let my speaking be, inspire me to speak in such a way that they will understand and it will have its effect. You know, he even writes that in the first canto. You know, he's praying like it. So this kind of determination to approach the most fallen and give them the chance to be Krishna conscious, inspire them, plant the seed in the heart, the Bhakti Lata Bija, is exemplified so well by Lord Nityananda, and who is Balaram himself. We say that there's Lord Chaitanya, and his first expansion is Nityananda. There's all this Pancha Tattva. They all have different roles. 3 of them are Vishnu Tattva. Advaita is an incarnation of the Lord. He's also Mahavishnu, you know, and by his ardent prayers and his loud chanting, Homkar. Does anyone remember Hunkar Das. I remember when when I joined, we had a devotee in Brooklyn named Hunkar. I didn't know what it meant for many years, but it's named after Advaita, because his loud shouting, piercing, covering the universe, praying that Krishna would come down and personally deliver people. He couldn't see how they would be delivered, So his prayers, his offering of water to the Ganges and worshiping his Salagram Shila, that was the proximate reason for Lord Chaitanya's coming. So Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, and Lord Nityananda is first expansion of Balaram. And as Prabhupada explains in the Krishna book, when he's describing the birth of Krishna, the birth of Balaram, Balaram gives the spiritual power to practice devotional service, because it's difficult. We're so conditioned, and the age is so fallen, it's difficult to practice strictly the spiritual life. But if we pray to Lord Nityananda and the Panchatattva, and we chant Hare Krishna faithfully, we can be given that strength to practice and actually advance in devotional service. So Nityananda Balaram, Nityananda Ram, the root of the bhakti tree. We're going to sing this Ashtaka. Vrindavan Thakur, who is the author of this Chaitanya Bhagavat, a direct disciple of Nityananda, he wrote this beautiful Ashtaka, 8 verses. Ashtaka means 8 verses. And there's a Palashruti too, a 9th verse, what you get for hearing it and chanting it. Is a wonderful paean to Lord Nityananda. And I put it into a poem in 2005. I was in Chaupati, my one and only trip to Chaupati. I don't know if I'll get back there. And it was the 25th anniversary of the first Pandal, of 1970 Pandal in Bombay. And Radhanath Swami had been prevailed upon by Shyama Sundar Prabhu, who was living there at the time, to put on a similar Pandal in the same place, a reprise of the Pandal. And I happened to be there, so they were preparing for that. Many, many devotees were there. And it was coming up on Nityananda's appearance day. And I had been familiar with this Ashtaka for years before. And I said, why don't I see if I can put that into a poem? This was my poem writing days. I haven't written many lately. And so I put it in, and he had me, Chaupati is big, So Radhanath Swami, he had a Vyasasan like this, but then they were extended out for 4 or 5 more in case his godbrothers would come, and he had me sit on one of those seats. So he had this full temple room, and we did this poem together. It went over fairly well. But it was it has wonderful. Now there's something before we do that. So anyway, what happens here? Jagai and Mara are transformed, and they become inspirations for so many people in the town, because they were, people were. Now there's one very interesting caveat. Why were they able to become converted? Because in spite of all their sins, they were drunkards, they were thieves, and everything. They never blasphemed the devotees. This is mentioned very carefully. That if you criticize, or what to speak of, persecute devotees, then you're doomed. In other words, it's practically impossible to become converted, because the Lord becomes much more angry at that. That's why he was so furious when Nityananda was hit, and it was only because Nityananda forgave him, and that Madai was delivered. So that is an important point we should remember. We've done so many things. This is some of the advantage of being in America or being in the West, completely oblivious to the whole Vedic culture, is that we commit so many sins, but we didn't blaspheme devotees. We didn't know who they were. So whereas in India, everybody I know Krishna. Yeah, those Vaishnavas, I know, because there's so many Apasampradayas doing this and that in the name of God. Anyway, it turned out to be a better field in the West to start the movement than when he brought all his dancing white elephants. The history in 1970, he was in India, and he invited so many to come. Kripamee, did you go at that time? No. But you knew some people who went, right? It was a tremendous thing. They went, and suddenly it was an event. It was a spectacle. They'd never seen, Western Vaishnava like this before. And so it probably would get thousands and thousands of people to gather in Bombay and Calcutta and Delhi, the Delhi Pandal. And, they'd be dancing and chanting and ecstatic. He had some of the ladies, right, to recite the Isha Upanishad. What is this, So he got attention, which is what he needed. And he was able to garner so much support from pious Vaishnavas, and the rest is history. So now India is like, far and away, the place where the movement is most popular and booming. But Nityananda is meant for all of us. He goes to the most fallen and he delivers us. So we have a special opportunity today to pray to him and to get his mercy. And this special chant, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga. We've always told this is such a powerful mantra. Oh, one point I wanted to make. This how we chant the Panchatattva mantra before chanting Hare Krishna. This is it. This is stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Why that's so important? Because Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, they don't accept any offenses. There's no 10 offenses against the Panchatattva mantra. If somehow or other you can chant it, you can be blessed with getting free of the offenses to the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna mantra, there's 10 offenses. If you keep chanting offensively, it'll take you lifetimes to get the result. But if you can chant, this is why our old friend Vishnu Jan, he would chant rounds of this Panchatattva. We don't have to do that. You can if you want. But the point is, it's tremendously potent. This is a perfect day. Nitai Gauranga is kind of a mantra I learned when I first went to Mayapur. And the proper pronunciation, because it's devolved into Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. But it's Nitai Gauranga, it's a long A. And Nityananda. Nityananda means eternally blissful, or eternal bliss personified. So it's Nitya Ananda, Nityananda. But sometimes the song becomes Nityananda, Nityananda. So, Nityananda. So we'll do that. So, I'm sorry, it hasn't been very systematic here, but we have a certain amount of time, and we have to, when is the Abhishek due? 5 minutes ago. All right, so let us adjourn, and it'll just take us a few minutes to chant this Nityanandastakam, and then we can have the Abhishek. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And if you just wait a minute, I'll just set this up. I think should be ready to go. Now, do we have a harmonium? Hare Krishna. Okay, can we get this middle light? And just a shout out, I don't do all that much traveling, but I've been around and I've seen, we have two of the most, if not the most, in my travels, merciful Gauranitai deities. Of course, Radhagiri Hari are also pouring out their love and mercy to us. But these deities are very special. Now, I have taken pictures. This is from the old painting. I have on the altar I have a whole slideshow. If anyone wants to, just write to me at dravida108.com. I have one, I'm not any great photographer, but when these deities, they're looking at you. Oftentimes, the Gauranitai deities, they're looking up. There is a verse also, one point, that in the last verse of this Ashtaka describes this and the painting that we're hiding here, which is our only original painting, by the way. All the others are prints. This is an original painting. There's actual paint in there of Gauranitai, even though they're both dressed in golden garments, chanting like this. The last verse of this, you'll notice, illustrates that, how they're dancing around the town and they're blessing everyone with their darshan and Hare Krishna. One or two things, when there's one verse that says he gave up his own interests and he was going around Bengal. That refers to a pastime where he was in Jagannath Puri with Lord Chaitanya and everyone. Lord Chaitanya was stayed there for, was it 12 years, I think, at the end. And he would go, the Rath Yatra was going on, and he would manifest the highest levels of bhakti in the mood of Radharani, separation from Krishna. And Nityananda wanted to stay there with him. He went with him when he took sannyas, and he went, he stayed. And he wanted to stay. And Lord Chaitanya said, you can't stay. I'm depending on you to preach in Bengal. I can't go back to Navadvip because my mother ordered me to stay here. She said she wanted that as some mercy because, he's leaving her alone. And he said, just, all right, please stay in Jagannath Puri. I'll get some news from you, about you all the time. That'll mitigate the separation. So he agreed. So Lord Nityananda, gave up his ardent desire to just stay with Lord Chaitanya and chant and dance. And he went to Bengal. That's a whole chapter, how he went in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. It's most amazing. I won't get into it now. But that refers to, gave up his own interests and he preached everywhere. There's also where he's addressing the Lord as brother. Oh, brother, please create some way that they can approach you. So you'll see that, and that refers to Lord Chaitanya. But then the next verse says, oh, brother, kindly chant the whole. Then he's going around house to house and asking the people there to chant. So just to orient you a little bit on this poem. Okay, do we have the harmonium? Does anyone have it? You're there. All right. So give me a D. You know the letters there? The one between two black keys? No, okay. All right, let's see what happens here. All right, so there's going to be some Sanskrit, which I'll chant. If you want, you can try to learn that last line. It comes up 8 times. Go ahead. Sarat Chandra Brantim Spudadamalakantim Gajakatim Hari Premon Mattam Dutapadamasattvam Smitamukham Sada Gunan Netram Kadakalitadretam Kalibadam Bhaje Nityanandam Bhajanatadukandam Nidavadhi. Beside the splendor of his golden form and smiling face, the splendor of the autumn moon appears most commonplace. Keep with the D, and maybe you can do a chord. Because he's mad with love of God, though he's God in disguise. He walks just like a drunken elephant and rolls his eyes. The cowherd's rod he carries is his weapon to destroy whatever ills and evils wicked Kali can deploy. All friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda Ram, the root of the bhakti tree. All friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda Ram, root of the bhakti tree. Rasanamagaram swajanagana sarvasumatulam tadiyaika prana pramatavasuda janapapatim sada premon madam padamavatatam mandamanasam bhaje Nityanandam bhaje Nityanandam Bhaje Nityanandam Bhajanatadukandam Niravadhi. Unequaled in his love for Krishna, he's a vast abode of transcendental mellows only God has ever showed. For all his devotees he's everything, and for his wives, Shri Vasudha and Janava, he is their very lives. Since love for Krishna makes him mad, his actions may seem odd. His actions may seem odd, and so the foolish fail to see that he himself is God. Oh, friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda Ram, the root of the bhakti tree. Oh, friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda, the root of the bhakti tree. Shachi sunu preshtam nikada jagadishtam sukhumayam kalau manjan jivo danana kadano dama kadonam hare rakyananva bhavajaladigo natihadam bhaje Nityanandam bhajanatadukandam nidavadhi. Most dear to Shachi's son, he is a reservoir of bliss. Throughout the universe he's worshipped with great happiness. Impelled by deep compassion when he sees the state therein, he saves the people sinking fast in Kali's sea of sin by teaching them to chant the holy name with every breath, thus crushing the conceit of Durga's sea of birth and death. All friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda, the root of the bhakti tree. Ahi bratran vinam kalikalushanam kinnu bhavata shata prayashchittam rachaya yidanaya sitahime vajanti tvamitam sahabhakavata mantriyatiyo bhaje Nityanandam bhajanata dukandam niravadhi. He said, "Oh brother, Kali's now ascendant everywhere, increasing people's suffering. It's more than I can bear. Please give these fallen souls an easy process to attain the shelter of your lotus feet, the place beyond all pain." Here's Bala Krishna, Bala Krishna. "Instruct them all to chant Shri Krishna's name," the Lord replied, "to worship him with love and by his teachings to abide. Oh friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda Ram, the root of the bhakti tree. Yateshtamre," now he's going and preaching. "Yateshtamre brato kudu hari hari dvana manisham, tato vaksang saram buddhitadanadai o mihilagate. Hirambahu spotay ratati batayanyak patigvaham, bhaje Nityanandam, bhajanata dukandam niravadhi." Oh friends, please chant the Hare Krishna mantra constantly, and also teach this process to your friends and family. Thus cross the sea of birth and death and be supremely blessed. Your liberation is the only alms that I request. Entreating thus to save the people from illusion's thrall, with arms upraised he went to every home throughout Bengal. Oh friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda Ram, the root of the bhakti tree. Balad Sang. Okay, intermission. This is Lord Nityananda dressed by Gandharvika for that book called Darshan. Have you seen it, with all deities all over the world? This is the beautiful image that's appeared and is immortalized in that book. Balad Sangsarambo Nidihadam Nakumbo Davamaho Satam Shreyak. Give me the D. There you go. Balad Sangsarambo Nidihadam Nakumbo Davamaho Satam Shreyak Sindhu Natakumadabandum Samuditam Kala Shreni Spurjit and Timadahadasuya Pabamaham Bhaje Nityanandam Bhajanatadukandam Niravadhi. A new Agastya Muni, with great force he drinks the sea of birth and death. How loving and compassionate is he! For all his devotees he is the best of rising moons, expanding wide the ocean full of transcendental boons. And for the many demons filling people's hearts with dread, he is the sun dispelling all the darkness that they spread. Oh friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda, the root of the bhakti tree. Natantam gayantam hadnamanavadantam patipati Vadantam pasyantam somabinadayantam chanaganam Pakovantam santam sakadunadagantam pakalanan Bhaje Nityanandam Bhajanatadukandam niravadhi. He wandered every path in Bengal chanting Hari Bol, his dancing and his singing bringing joy to every soul. He put aside his own concerns to spread the holy name, thus mercifully fulfilling Sri Chaitanya's preaching aim. On seeing saintly devotees he felt great happiness, and with his mercy-laden glance he filled their hearts with bliss. Oh friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda Ram, the root of the bhakti tree. Oh friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda Ram, the root of the bhakti tree. Okay, number 8. Subibranam Bratukkada Sadasajam Komalatadam Mito Bhakta Loko Chatatapadamanan Vidiyam Brahmantam Madhuryar Ahamadayantam Pudajananam Bhaje Nityanandam Bhajanatadukandam Niravadi. He gently took his brother's soft and graceful lotus hand, and as he looked upon his face, he felt his bliss expand. Chaitanya felt the same way as he looked upon the face of Nityananda, and he held him in a firm embrace. And then they started dancing through the streets of all the towns, their beauty filling every heart with joy that knew no bounds. Oh, friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda Ram, the root of the bhakti tree. Oh, friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda Ram. Okay, now the Palashruti for hearing it. Vasanamadaram rasikapadasad vaishnavadhanam Vasagaram saram patititaram smaranatak Padam Nityanandastakam idamapurvam patatiya Tadangri dvandvabjam spudutuna tadam tasya. For Nityananda's devotees who relish mellow sweet, this poem is a precious nectar reservoir replete with endless waves and whirlpools of the sweetest, deepest love, beyond what even gods and goddesses are dreaming of. It has the power to deliver any fallen soul and place them at Sri Nityananda's feet, our final goal. May those who hear these verses, may those who hear these transcendental verses I impart, forever see his lovely lotus feet within their heart. Oh, friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda Ram, the root of the bhakti tree. Oh, friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda, the root of the bhakti tree. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.